Already we are about to end the month, and we're looking straight towards Christmas. And before you know it, before you quint, quint? Before you quint, year is finished. Well, man from Warren Point in the Grill, welcome to the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. And today we have a very special man in the place. Courtney is going to be introducing him in a short while. But this is the mailbox aired every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101, the family station. I'm Kevin Bailey.
Yes, and I'm Courtney Morrison, the same man that Kevin just spoke of. Welcome to the mailbox, everyone. Those watching live on Facebook and YouTube, or those who are listening live on air. Today is Mentegrity Wednesday, and we get to talk to the man of integrity, a man that won't lower his standards just for any and anything. So, Kevin, how you doing? Before I don't know if we got caught napping just a while ago, I was telling you about my son getting married in December. And
Wow.
strangely enough, when I got married 30 years ago, about 6 to 7 weeks before I got married, I experienced severe abdominal pains and ended up doing ultrasound. Well, on Monday, which is 7 weeks away from him getting his marriage, he
Yeah.
ended up in the hospital at Medical Associates having abdominal pains. When Karen and I were going to the hospital, she said, Courtney, what does this remind you of?
Wow.
Abdominal pain 7 weeks before the wedding. So I don't know. I hope it's not a tradition that we're starting. But it is strange. Still don't know what happened. But to God be the glory. He's well. And all is well.
Excellent.
Want to
Excellent.
thank Nurse Shanette Sims of Medical Associates. Good job. Thank you for keeping our company and just taking us through the ropes. Bless you, Shanette. Kev, warm to you this over the weekend here now.
That's interesting. We pray for that everything will go well, and of course, congrats to you, the family, and as you look forward to this great celebration. Weekend had the privilege of sharing Duke Street with Wayne Fern, June Fern, and the team there.
Ah!
Yeah, it was really a good time with the young people. Some fantastic young people there,
Yes.
and the music, the sharing, the testimony. So I had the privilege of being there with them. So that was really
Awesome.
really good. Of course, we're gonna find out what Jide has been doing. So he going to get a full time to tell us all
Yes, yes,
about
yes.
his life. But the weekend, give
Weekend
thanks.
was well spent.
Yeah.
Well, I
Fantastic.
went to Dover Raceway. We had a what was known as the Spotlight Initiative, talking about eliminating violence against women and girls.
Mhm.
Spotlight Initiative and Operation Save Jamaica moderated the program. Former DCP Novelet Grant and
Wow.
member Gender Bureau Affairs National Miller did some sharing, and then we had Zoom Zoom OD Ray himself and his daughter. We were entered the go-kart racing, and not to mention she beat all the way, so we can't say nothing. So big up. It was a good time, and we really appreciated the time there together. Thanks, Reverend Jason Downer and Reverend Bruce Fletcher. I hope I got the right Fletcher. Yes, Bruce is not Dwight. Operation Save Jamaica. Excellent weekend it was.
Great stuff there. Well, guess what? Today we have our Mentegrity man in the place. And Mentegrity man for this month is Jide Lewis, Chief Prudential Officer at Bank of Jamaica, father of two, husband of one wife. And we have to say that, right? So, Dr. Jide Lewis, welcome to the mailbox. Great to have you. How you
Thank you
doing?
for having me. I love this program. So, I listen to it. So it's nice actually be on the program. So I'm a big fan as well.
Wow.
Of what you guys are doing here. I think you do an excellent job.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it today. It will be an excellent time. So, man and man, remember, we want to hear from you today. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. You can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. The number again, 876-997-3125. Women, we love not only to say, that's why we have wives. Yes, we welcome your participation in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp or comment on our Facebook page. Females, remember, no calls or voice note allowed. We're giving men that special honor so that they can speak directly to us. We want to speak to them and we hope they speak to us. So we'll
That's
come right
right.
back.
Yeah, after the break, we're gonna have a chit chat with our Mentegrity man, who is Chief Prudential Officer at Bank of Jamaica. We're gonna find out what does that mean, what it entails, talk about his life, go into his business. But we believe it's gonna be a time where men, yeah, you're gonna be challenged, encouraged, and empowered. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna be right back after this.
So we're here on the mailbox just in case if you're listening in or you're there with us. We're going to be getting into the main segment shortly. And so we're hoping that you stick and stay with us. We want to speak with this gentleman of integrity and we want to define who is a man of integrity. Proverbs 10, verse 9 says, from the New International Version, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will
MasterCard.
be
All
found
the
out.
convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the
Leandre,
benefits of belonging.
good. They
I
got our
am
message.
Reverend Dr. George Mulreen,
And I am Bishop Christine Gooden Bengushe,
and we are from the
Jamaica Methodist District, and we have been vaccinated for the COVID war that we're in. We will space ourselves well to win, and in love we'll fight cool and clean, armed with masks and with the vaccine. The vaccine's a blessing at least, and it's not the mark of the beast. As a symbol it shows we care for all with whom on this earth we share. For the COVID war that we're in, we will space ourselves well to win, and in love we'll fight cool and clean, armed with mask and with the vaccine.
Integrity man, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man.
Welcome back, welcome back. You're live on the program, The Mailbox. We've been going 8 consecutive years. Next year it will be 9. What a time it will be. It's time though to get into the main segment because time has a way of catching up on us. This is our main segment, The Inbox. And today we are looking at a man of integrity. Who is a man of integrity, you may ask? Proverbs 10, verse 9, the New International Version, says it this way. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. Bible says so.
That's right. So, um, I think we are going to, yeah, I think we'll come back to favorite folder, right? But we're having Dr. Jide Lewis, and he's a past student of Jamaica College. He came to know the Lord Jesus Christ while attending Jamaica College as a second former. In fact, he started reading the Bible for the first time as a first former when he got his first Bible for religious education. Gentlemen, Jide had the privilege of attending ISCF, Interschool Christian Fellowship, while he was at Jamaica College and serving as the student council president as a sixth former. At University of the West Indies, he did his first degree. He also continued to participate in Universities Christian Fellowship, UCCF. Big things. Currently, Jide is Chief Prudential Officer at Bank of Jamaica, having started his career at the bank 17 years ago, Courtney.
Yes, ICF and UCCF. We do remember those days. I wonder if he was also a part of Youth for Christ. It usually seems to just be an extension. But one more thing we want to tell you about Jide is this. He's also a PhD candidate in the Economic Policy Development Program. I hope I will pronounce this right. I'll just spell it SALISES at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. Having joined the bank in 2004 as an economist, he has been actively engaged in the ongoing monitoring and analysis of the risk to the stability of the financial system. We know who to talk to. More recently, he has focused on promoting adherence to international best practice principles in data dissemination. He graduated from the University of York with an MSc in economics and finance in 2013 and a PhD in economic development policy from the University of the West Indies. He is certified as a financial risk manager, FRM, and is accredited as a certified financial analyst, CFA. He is married with 2 children and enjoys playing table tennis. What a man.
Well, I tell you, gentlemen, remember now, listen up, and ladies, please call your husband, your boyfriend, your cousin, your uncle, all of them know, because we're gonna have a stimulating conversation. We can learn a lot, and now is the time more than ever to be encouraged and empowered. With so many negative news, we have a man of integrity. I remember, ladies, sometimes where you say no good man a day, and we hear all of those kind of distorted thing, but we want to testify to a person of integrity. Dr. Jide Lewis, welcome again. And I'm going to ask the first question, and morph into your childhood. But who is a chief prudential officer? It sounds like a significant, like a powerful thing,
Is
especially.
is a big title, but it just sounds fancy. But it just basically
Yeah.
means that I manage the operations of our supervisory division. We oversee banks and we oversee financial groups that contain a bank. So all of that basically is to make sure that banks are operating in a safe and sound manner. That's all it basically means.
Safe and sound meaning a matter of integrity, fit and proper. Is that what that means there? Because we know prudential things usually speak of prudence, which speaks to truth and good. Is that what it speaks to?
Yes, but the bottom line is that when you go to your bank, you should be able to get your money when you go to the ATM and when you join the line, So safety and soundness means you have confidence in your financial institutions because they're being properly supervised and regulated. So that would be the bottom line in terms of that role.
So is it my understanding that BOJ would be like the bank of banks, like we have Lord of Lords, like all other banks would be supervised by you, and they report to you and you monitor them. Is that the idea,
Yes, yes,
Jide?
that's the idea. So we are not a bank in the sense that we don't serve the public in a general way, as customers coming to us, but we supervise the other banks in Jamaica and ensure that they are abiding by the requirements of the law, and that they do they fulfill their responsibilities, spoke about fit and proper. That's a big part of it, making sure that their management is are people of integrity, certainly in terms of their financial conduct.
Awesome. We
Wow.
want to talk a bit also about your childhood. Kevin mentioned it earlier. We're going to get a bit up into your business and we want others to hear about it. Tell us a bit about your childhood. Were you born with a gold spoon in your mouth? Were you born in humble beginnings or were you born having everything at your disposal, hands
Oh
being washed?
boy. Well, I mean, I would say it felt that way. I had very good parents. I have very good parents. I thank God that he placed me in a family with very good parents. But no, no gold spoon at all. They
No.
really struggled a lot, particularly in my early childhood. Both parents teach on campus, but
Uh-huh.
campus wasn't a place back in those, like we know now, where people associate it with, getting good salaries and so on. In the 70s and 80s, even 90s, they
Mm.
were they were struggling. And I certainly learned to appreciate whatever was put in front of me, whether it be clothes or food or whatever. You just don't question that because it was done out of love. Had the
Yeah.
privilege of going to Hope Valley Experimental School.
Ah,
That's in
Mm.
Augustown or very near to Augustown, and that I think was fantastic because you learned from an early age that it didn't matter where you come from, it didn't matter your physical ability or inability. The fact is that once you showed up, you could participate, and you could benefit from a good education, and you learn to see that everybody can make a positive contribution. So that certainly is my frame,
Mm.
growing up, and that has continued throughout the years.
excellent.
After Hope Valley, give us a kind of sense of how you move up, through the different schools and university. Yeah, what happened? How
Ye-
did you end up? Because I wonder if you envision yourself being where you are right now in Bank of Jamaica, having such just a prestigious position, making an impact and a major contribution to nation building and monitoring. Give us a sense of that little boy from Hope
Boy, that's
Valley. What
interesting.
happened?
It's so interesting how you phrase it, because I just see it as just going to work and doing my bit. But
Wow.
I think after the year that I did common entrance back in the day, it was common entrance. For those
Mhm.
who don't know what common entrance is, Kevin, you might have to explain. But it
Yeah.
was a year that they had a lot of cheating, incidentally. So the government
Mm.
decided that they would not use the results of the common entrance, and instead they would zone all the students. So I ended up going to JC because I lived off Mona Road. So that's how I ended up at JC. But in looking back on it, God has a plan. um,
Mm.
and so I ended up there. After after 2 years, there was a hurricane. I don't know if how many people remember Hurricane Gilbert, and that
Yep.
destroyed a large sections of the school. And I actually went to school for an entire it was a school term and never had any notes. My parents, of course, didn't know this. And when they found out, they were very upset, obviously. And I was given a choice, either I was going to go to Meadowbrook High School or to Hillel Academy. Don't remember how that conversation went, but long story short, I ended up at Hillel from third form to fifth form, and then went back to JC for sixth form. So that's my
Mm.
I've been through quite a bit of ups and downs, sideways, and around school wise. Then my parents would have thought that would want to go to UWI. I decided I wanted to go to JTS. JTS is Jamaica Theological Seminary. I wanted to study
Wow.
theology, and I
Mm.
went to work at Mutual Security Bank and funded myself to go to JTS to do New Testament theology. I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand a little bit more about my faith. I didn't have the advantage of going to Sunday school growing
Mm.
up. So a lot of the Bible stories were very new to me. They still surprise me
Wow.
up to this day when I read the Bible. I'm like, what? What are people like? Yeah,
Wow.
man, them hear about this long time, man. I'm like, what? Swallow fish? Fish swallow? No, man. So I did that, and then it turned out that Mutual Security Bank. I don't know if persons remember, but in the 90s, that bank closed, and I was made redundant from my first job. And that is
Wow.
what started my interest in this whole idea of what makes a bank fail, what makes it sound. And I think I kind of
Mm.
decided to figure that out, and I wanted a career that would um try to make sure that that wouldn't happen to anybody else. And
Wow.
Losing your first job and being made redundant at 19 is no fun, right? It
Wow.
changed a lot of things.
Wow.
So that's the
Mm.
story, and then I've just been learning ever since. Just whether it was first degree, master's, PhD, I've just had a passion to try to understand what is it that makes the financial sector tick, and what makes it keel over and die.
Interesting story.
Mm.
You said something that I want to piggyback on, where you said God had a plan, even when with you ending up at JC and then going JTS and Mutual Security before it became MS, before it became National Commercial Bank, was absorbed by National Commercial Bank. You are now in the financial sector because you saw in the 1990s the whole financial collapse. What plan do you think God has for you now, even in the banking sector? You said you don't want to see things fail, but in terms of its integrity, in terms of monitoring, and you said it only seems like you go and do your job. How is it then that you can just say, tell us what you think God was doing for you, and do you think persons need a formal education to be successful? Tell us about the plan of God in this, and do you think persons need a formal education to be successful?
The plan of God is something that is revealed to you even as you try to search it out. I would suggest that persons just try to live
Mm.
one day at a time and understand what the instruction is for today. If God said go name the animals, go and name the animals. That's your instruction for the day. Don't try and go and try to do biology, right? To name them first. And I think in my
Mm.
case, it's just how things unfolded. I didn't know what I wanted to do career wise when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Mm.
And I think that was okay because I just wanted to learn and I wanted to understand the whys of things. And it just turns out that, by the way, I was a terrible teller because I was a bank teller at Mutual Security Bank. I would never balance, right? I mean,
Wow.
so I think God was telling me that, boy, bank tellering is not what He has designed before.
Mm.
That there's another role that He had for me. So it's interesting. Only in retrospect you can see how He's pulling things together and how He's ordering your steps. Do I believe an education is a necessary thing for success? Absolutely not. I think it's important to continue to learn in whatever area that you have a passion in. I think continual learning is critical. A lot of persons talk about Bolt and how amazing he is. Well, he dedicated a lot of his time, effort, blood, and sweat in his craft. Lots of singers are like that. A gentleman
Mm.
who I know is a carpenter hasn't done more than primary school, but he is brilliant. I mean, if you see the artistry of the things that he produces out of wood and stone and metal, and it blows your mind. But
Mhm.
he has dedicated himself to continue to learn and hone his craft, and
Mm.
he has made himself teachable so that he can understand how to apply the things that he's reading. He's literate. And the things that he is interacting with and engaging with. So I think it's broader. If you want to be in the field, such as in finance, I mean, an education and a formal education is critical. That's just the nature of that particular field, but that's not a general statement. I would say for everyone. Follow your talents, and
Mm.
your talents really are at the end of the day will be your wealth, right?
Sound advice. Sound advice.
Oh,
Your conversion
Jide,
to Christianity. Go ahead.
adverse to
Go ahead, Kevin.
yeah. No, go ahead, Courtney.
No, you see,
Yeah,
probably
yes,
I would
Jide.
have asked a similar
No,
question about the
I said
challenges.
yeah. Go ahead, Courtney.
In those times that you were moving from one place to the next, when you were being displaced or being relocated, whichever terminology you want to use, were there any challenges you were facing as a youngster in terms of your studies, in terms of relationships, if you were having one? What were some of those challenges that you faced during those times of relocation and adjusting to moving from place to place and the decisions that you had to make? And how did you overcome them?
So that's a very hard question to answer. I mean, a big part of my first journey was I wasn't a believer. And in fact, I didn't commit my life to Christ until about middle of second form, maybe third form. So before that, I think I was really struggling with identity, struggling with acceptance, struggling with purpose. I think I didn't like the fact as a teenager that, other persons could make decisions that would affect you, and they would, there'd be no price to be paid by them if they made a decision that hurt you or your family or your loved ones, whether that is a murderer, whether it's, some world leader with a nuclear button and so on. So there are questions I didn't about justice that I couldn't answer as well. So there's a lot of inner turmoil. As fate would have it, on my way walking from home to JC, there's a church, Mona Heights Chapel, and they used to have a teen meeting, meeting of youngsters on Friday nights. And I passed and I saw one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. All right, as I was 11. So I decided to stop by and have some conversation and try to strike a couple of conversation. Long story short, we became friends, and I stayed in long enough to hear the gospel message, and that's why I really went there, to hear the gospel, and that gave me a message of hope, and really answered the question that I had. So sometimes you think you know what you want, but God knows what you need, and he will organize and orchestrate things. One of the best advice I got as a young Christian from one of my teachers was that, you're stubborn. And that was a declaration that she was making, that you're a stubborn young man. But she said, be stubborn in the right things. And I thought about that for a couple days,
Wow.
and it stuck with me. And I think I've spent a lifetime trying to figure out what to be stubborn about. Um,
Let's take a pin there, Jide. We're going to have to take a break. We're talking
sure.
to Jide Lewis, Chief Prudential Officer at the Bank of Jamaica. We're going to take a break and come right back right where we left off.
Get the lowest prices on tiles, bathroom fixtures and faucets, laminate flooring, lighting, windows and doors, plus more, even on new arrivals. Shop top brands like American Standard, Moen, Corona, Hunter, and Angel Grace. Visit our showrooms at Old Road Road and Constant Spring Road. The best brand sale event now on at Home and Things. Shop now for the best brands, big value, and even bigger savings.
For the best in investment options, personal pension, and flexible loans. It's BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. The time by BPM Financial Limited is
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station Love 101.
Hey man, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man, I am a man, I am a man.
Welcome back. You're listening to the program, The Mailbox, live here on Love 101 and live on Facebook and YouTube and our Love 101 pages. We're talking with Jide Lewis, of the Chief Prudential Officer at the Bank of Jamaica. We have been listening to his story, and it is quite good. We're going to be going into favorite folders, but we just want him to continue where he left off, speaking on being told he was stubborn, but he should be stubborn in the right things. And we want to hear the lessons he learned
Right.
being stubborn in the right things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say, for example, I remember one of my teachers saying that, you're never going to pass math. Well, from that day, I decided I was going to get a one, right?
Wow.
Because you just don't that you just don't say that,
Mm.
right? So I'm a stubborn person. If I make up my mind about something, I'm
Wow.
going to go and pursue it and achieve that objective. But I think becoming a Christian and certainly getting good advice has really helped me to focus my stubbornness on the things that lead to life. I mean, be stubborn about truth, be stubborn about
Mhm.
justice, be stubborn about fairness, be stubborn about love. And if you can be stubborn in those things, I think you can lead a life that is rewarding and that leaves a legacy that is bigger than your person, because you live in a way that glorifies Christ. So that was one of the signal moments, I think, as a young Christian, which helped me to manage crises in a way that always led me to be stronger for them and not worse for them.
Mm. Wow. We're talking with Dr. Jide Lewis of Bank of Jamaica, those who are now joining us from Morn Point in Negril. Now, we're going to just take a little segue and ask your perspective on what we might consider a little frivolous thing. Jide, we're looking at what we call our favorite fold up, and this evening we're looking at men who do not own a car, but his girlfriend owns one. Does that in any way emasculate him? Does that make him feel inferior? Does does that have the propensity to lower his self-esteem, and should it? But the fact that he is walk foot, because Jamaica have a way to determine what they call, walk foot. Why they don't say you walk, but they call it walk foot, as to underline the importance of it. And here it is, you have
Yeah,
a girlfriend now, and and she's
yeah.
driving. Um, yeah, Jide,
Well,
what we
I
look
I
at
am
that?
the worst person to ask that, because when I got married, I actually moved into my wife's apartment, right? So I have no issues whatsoever with sharing cars and places and so on. I think that is a journey that you're making together. I starting out life together. Somebody might have
Mm,
something going into it. And if you're going to be in a marriage for the long haul, believe you me, you're going to be going through seasons of plenty and seasons of little. So the tables
mm,
turn. I think, yes, as men we want to feel like we are contributing and we're bringing something to the marriage, but oftentimes our partners just really want us to love them, respect them, and to make a contribution, whatever that contribution is. It could be, I don't want to start guessing at things, but it could be anything. As long as you're making a contribution to the marriage, I think
mm,
that's what really counts. Yeah.
mm.
So, Kevin, to go back to that walk foot thing, Jamaicans tend to call the foot
Yes,
F10. So it's still a motor vehicle. So when
I like
yes,
that one.
we talk about walk foot, we're talking about the Zephyr
yes.
10. So today, Dr.
Uh,
Lewis, let me call it Dr. Lewis. It's easier. Um, so in
mhm.
no way it should emasculate the man. He should know his identity, know his position. What advice would you give to men who who somehow feel, hey, I'm the man? Therefore, even to the young lady who actually even believes that if he does not take these things into the relationship, then I'm gonna look for somebody when I walk foot. Should I drive?
Well, I mean, I think as the man is courting the woman, he can say what is his plan and what he plans to bring to the marriage. And I think that's a part of courtship, that you would say you put your best foot forward and you have a plan. But as I say, it's a different thing with the reality.
Yes.
Sometimes things don't work out exactly at the timing that you want it. And if you're only being valued because of what you're doing, then that relationship is starting on a bad foot, because you could get ill, You could have an accident. There are whole lots of situations that happen not just before marriage, but during the course of marriage. And it can't be that is what defines your manhood, right? I mean, to have to be bigger than that. And I think if the woman is a good
Mm-hmm.
woman, she will see that. That's as much as I can say. But if it's how you're feeling, I would say talk to other men, especially older men, who might be able to give you a perspective on the realities of life, because you don't always start out with everything going in your favor. That's just not reality. Sometimes you're set back in life, and marriage is for the long
Mm-hmm.
haul. So I would say talk to some older men, and get some advice about how to view possessions and what you contribute to the marriage.
Sound
Wow,
advice.
I
One
think
final thing,
well
Doctor.
said.
One final thing. Don't you think men are in a place being pressured that they can't? I like where you said put your best foot forward and not your best car. Um, Men are being pressured that if they don't do something like this, that if they are not the ones who are carrying the majority of things into the relationship, even into courtship, then he's not ready for marriage. He shouldn't. He probably should give up courtship for a while or wait until he has some other things in place. Your view, your perspective on that?
I mean, I think it is every situation is going to be different. I mean, so there's a right person to marry and there's a right time to marry. And you want to choose a time where you don't go into marriage with a lot of debt, for example. You don't go into marriage with a lot of financial burden, so that you don't end up spending the first few years of your marriage struggling with that instead of learning each and
Correct.
understanding each other. So there's wisdom. Proverbs talks about wisdom. But what I'm saying is your worth can't be defined by the things that you carry into the marriage in terms of physical things. It just makes no sense, because those things decay over time. So you might have a brand new car on the first day of marriage, and it get into accident on the second day of marriage. Does that mean that you have no more worth in the marriage? That
Yes.
for me just don't spell any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to make sure that we understand that marriage is whereas wealth and financial assets are important, they're not the core of a marriage. The core of a marriage is two people trying to build a story together and trying to work through life together. And when you do that, I think you have more to celebrate as you go through the years. You can talk about the story of when you just had one table. You can talk about the story when you
Yeah,
just had
yeah.
one bed sheet. It just makes for a better, I think,
Yes.
a better lasting story. Even when you're talking to your kids, you can say, "This is where we used to live," and they say, "What? How we used to fit there?" And say, "Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
and so you even get a you get to have a story together, and so it is that's how I choose to see it. I choose to see it as building a life together,
Yes.
and it's more about the story that you're going to be building together than what you're walking on day one with.
That's we're hearing responses there from Dr. Jide Lewis of Bank of Jamaica. Men who don't own a car, but his girlfriend owns one. In fact, he may own a plot of land, some cows, some goats, other houses and so. But in fact, he doesn't own a car. So you see, he has different assets and so, right? But working together, loving each other, he has ambition and certain values, and you can see yourself working together as a team. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna close this section here. We call the favorite folder. Remember, you can participate by leaving your comments via our WhatsApp line 876-997-3125. In fact, you can give us a call on our studio lines now 876-968-8327. That's 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Remember, you can call us now, or you can give us your feedback on anything that we're having this conversation on. But you know what? I want to ask Dr. Jide Lewis, what is it that drives you? What is it you're passionate about? And yes, life lessons that you may have learned, up to this point. And specifically as we talk up to our boys to men, if you can kind of dovetail, a kind of challenge to them based on your passion, life lessons, what would you say where you are now, Dr. Lewis?
Strangely enough, I'm going to end up talking more about table tennis than anything else, which may sound
Ah,
strange, but I
wow.
really love the sport. I've always enjoyed it, and I think I started taking it very seriously at university as kind of stress
Mm,
relief and so on. And what I love about it is that you can always improve. You can get better if you put the effort in. If you put in the work, you can perform better. Also, sometimes the game goes against you, and you have a bad start, but you learn never to give up. Because some of my greatest victories in table tennis, I have been down 10 love, you're paying to 11, and you just stop focusing on the score, and you just focus on playing what you have trained. And then you see people running towards you because it turns out you have won the game, but you don't know because you're
wow.
busy trying to focus on the stroke and the game and the thing that's in front of you. And I love table tennis because it's a great challenge. So I think for me, table tennis is a little bit of a story of life. You have to put in a lot of effort, but the rewards are great. When you commit yourself to whatever it is, whether it is your marriage, your work, whether it is your participation at church, whatever area that you find yourself in, commit to it, put in the work. The rewards are going to be there for you, and you'll enjoy it. Sometimes life plays against you, whether it's at work or in marriage, or with your friendships. Sometimes you get off on a wrong foot. It doesn't mean the game over. You can put in the work, put in the effort, and a lot of times things work out, and you have a better. You learn more from the rougher experiences in life, I've found, than you do the easier experiences. Those are the things that they don't break you, they make you stronger. Um, so those are the lessons I can share are more around from just how I have experienced sports and my love for sports, and how I translate it to how I understand my Christian walk, how I understand my work life, my marriage, my friendships, and apply it that way. And I think for me, it's your. Some people think of themselves as, I'm a Christian at church, I'm a work person at work, I'm a sportsman at the sport, but you're one person.
Yes.
And the question,
Mm,
and we're talking about integrity here. Integrity is about being the same person regardless of who you're in front of. It doesn't matter whether you're in front of a pastor, or you're in front of your children,
mm,
or your wife, or a perfect stranger. You're the same person in Christ. And if you can
mm,
take the lessons that God is teaching you and apply them to the next interaction that you have, you become stronger for it. That's my worldview, and
mm,
that's how I see it. So I'm a I'm not so much somebody who I'm not an economist and a Christian. I'm a Christian who practices economics.
mm,
Right. So I'm a Christian who plays table tennis. I'm a Christian who
mm,
is married and has two children.
mm,
The core of who you are is centered in Christ, but it manifests itself in whatever environment you find yourself in. And that's essentially my worldview. I mean,
mm.
yeah.
Excellent.
Very,
I
very
love
interesting. Very.
love what I'm hearing. As Kevin said, we want you to continue because the analogies that you have used is great. You are married and father of two, husband of one. Tell us a little bit about how you balance, even as you spoke that you don't segmentalize, you're a person of integrity. How do you prove integrity in your marriage and your children while you are supervising all these banks in Jamaica? Tell us a little bit about the marriage and the balancing act, or the act of integrity, better put.
All right. So, I mean, I think it is to understand the seasons of your life and to understand that each season will have its own challenges and things that you have to do well. I think in this particular season of my life, I have to do well at managing my marriage. And I say I'm using the word manage deliberately because it doesn't happen by itself. You have to invest in it, you have to nurture it, you have to be a student of marriage. And boy, Kevin, you have a wonderful ministry in terms of ministry to couples, which I've been blessed by. So I use this opportunity to thank you for that, for your investment in so many young people and so many young marriages over
Thanks.
the years.
Thank you.
But in the
Thank
same
you.
way, you have to also invest in your talents at work. And I think as you negotiate these things, it's important to be transparent. What do I mean by transparent? Let your wife and let your kids know what your plans are so that they can find ways of supporting you and you can set expectations. I'll never forget the year that I wanted to go and go off I got a scholarship to go to England to do my PhD. And in discussing it with my wife, she said, okay, you have 1 year. So had 1 year to get this thing done. And in terms of getting her support, I mean, we talked about it, went to counseling and got advice. So managing all of these things, I
Mm,
think being transparent is important so that persons who are around you can support you in your vision and then can be reasonable in their expectations of you. And then you can know where you need to compromise. So, for example, when my daughter was doing GSAT, I knew that for that year I needed to buckle down and do GSAT too, right? So that is the give and take that you have in life as you go through the different seasons. You have to be willing to. It's not just about you, and what you want to do. You have to also look at what other persons are trying to do and figure out how do you balance that. So there's no one. I can't say this is the formula that you use. I think it's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of negotiation, it's being transparent and being clear about what you want to do. And sometimes people can say, boy, that don't make no sense. And if they say they don't make no sense, then you have to sit down and go back to your drawing board and come up with something that can work.
yes.
So I think that is the balancing act there. I mean, something that hasn't been said on the program so far. I'm also an elder at Mona Heights Chapel, so I'm part of the leadership
Yes.
there. That's the same church I was saved at 13,
Mm,
and
Interesting. Interesting.
the other a few years ago they asked me to join them in the leadership there. And
wow.
the question was, how do you say no? Because this is the place where that gave you your spiritual identity
Ah,
and nurtured you. So
Mm,
the balancing act, you go back, you talk to your wife, you talk to the kids, and you say, okay, how are we going to juggle this? What does this mean? And so on. So I think it's a balancing act, and it's always negotiating. But one thing I can say to persons is always put Christ first. So I abide by the first things first principle. You get up in the morning, you hold a meds, you read a little scripture.
mm,
If it's 5 minutes, you can spare. If it's 10, if it's 15, it's 20. But put that first because the rest of the day might consume you, and you don't get after 365 days. You realize that you
mm,
spent a year without actually fellowshipping with God. So put
no.
the things which are most important first. I would say God first, your immediate family, second church, third, and then fourth would be work. So it sounds a little strange. How do you do well at all of these things? I think you have to prioritize and focus on the
Mm,
things which are eternal, and the rest of the things which are passing will take care of themselves as you're diligent. So that's how I've lived. It don't mean that I don't stress out sometimes, and it doesn't mean that everything goes according to plan. It doesn't mean that everything works exactly how you plan it. But you know, by the grace of God, yes, I think yes, I can say that
yes.
things have more or less been heading in the right direction. Yeah.
I think I can endorse that to Courtney, fantastic gentleman, Jide, and a wonderful wife, Cleo. So they really have been setting a great example. We're having some feedback here on our WhatsApp messages. Jody and Simpson, Salisbury Plain, St. Andrew. She says, well, I don't own a car and my boyfriend is not driving. We both take, I think I say bus, truck, bus, van,
Public
um,
transportation.
transportation. Okay, okay. And
That's
you see another
fantastic.
one here. Yeah, Sister Pam, Frank all. Good evening to you all. I really love the humbleness in this brother. My brother, keep on doing what the Lord called you to do. God bless you and keep you, my brother. I really love your spirit. Um, um, for you there, Jide. We really appreciate the feedback. Thank you so very much as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
Hey,
So
Kev,
a question
time really
again.
flying. We have only five
Said
minutes
that Courtney.
left. I said time is really flying.
Okay.
We have only 5 minutes left to complete here. How do we spend the rest of our time with such a wonderful man of integrity? He has told us about his family. He's told us about his beginning, his career. Kevin, I leave this part up to you.
Right. So, sometimes men are saying in this country, because of so many challenges, we have the pandemic exacerbate many negatives, unprecedented times. Some of the man them say, Dr. Jide, nothing now go on. It's like a sense of hopelessness, whether they're in the country, whether they're in urban areas. Can every man be a success? I'm not talking men, educated, uneducated, challenge. From your perspective, can every man in Jamaica specifically be a success, and what does that look like from
I,
your
I th-
perspective?
I think God has a plan for every man in Jamaica. And I think every man in Jamaica has a choice to make as to whether or not they're going to go about their life in their own strength, or if they're going to go about their life, submitting themselves to Christ. I think that success is going to look very different for every man in Jamaica. Success will not look the same for everyone, but I do believe that whatever that looks like, it will be clear to persons who look on, because they will see the hand of God, um, you know, leading and directing you to the purposes that He has. I know that sounds like it's a grand statement, but it's a conviction that I have. I do believe that God is calling out to men across the island to look to Him and to understand that even though things are very difficult now, that in fact, he is paving a way, and out of some of the struggles, he's creating testimonies that are going to transform this country. So I mean, that's as much as I can say in the 5 minutes. Wish I had more time to talk about what that would look like, but I would say don't give up. I would say hone whatever skills and talents that you have. Put Christ first. I would say don't give up on yourself. Don't believe the lies around you, and be careful of people who pretend to have your best interests of heart, but they're really only
Mhm.
planning your destruction. And I mean, those are some of the thoughts that I have. But absolutely, I think God has a plan for every single man in Jamaica, and I think that's our transformation as a country will start there, right? That's where it has to start.
Mm. Wow. S- Sir Courtney, you're muted. Courtney, I think you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I just
Sure.
recognized. We have another message here from Paulette from Spanish Town, St. Catherine. She's saying, love this man, love this. Men should be humble and have integrity and balance their life. Paulette, Spanish Town. And I also believe Sister Rose from Orange Bay, Portland, says, good evening. Powerful lesson. May that brother stay rooted and grounded in the Lord. That brother they're speaking of is none other than Dr. Jide Lewis, Chief Financial Officer of the Bank of Jamaica, Prudential Officer. He oversees or supervises the banks. Can you imagine? Big job. He says just his everyday job. We want you to close us with one thing, Sir Lewis. What's your favorite Bible scripture?
Be anxious for nothing, but in all things with prayer and supplications, put your request before the Lord, and He will take care of it. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's something that I keep very close to chest. I whisper it, and it just reminds me that nothing catches God by surprise. He knows
Mm,
what is coming, and He can prepare us, regardless of the challenges. So that's what I keep close to chest as I
yeah,
wake up every day and go through the day.
yeah.
Awesome
Oh,
scripture verse, and the one following it in Philippians, that was Philippians 4, verse 6, he just told us. The one following it in verse 7 says, and he will grant you a peace that surpasseth all understanding. And that is just powerful. Kev.
yeah, thanks to our producer, Tony K. Bromfield, hard-working Tony K. Bromfield there, to Derval Graham and Timoy Butler for technical support, and to our listeners, those who joined on social media, thank you so much. You have been very faithful and committed to this program. Really appreciate you, and those who sent in their feedback. Our Mentegrity guest, Dr. Jide Lewis, thank you so much, sir, brother, friend, for really coming and sharing the way you do. We are really amazed by humility as well, and that is just a great characteristic as persons have just reported on and share their perspective. Continue to raise the bar, set the standard, and continue to be the example. So, man oh man, we thank you for being with us, even as he shared with us, Courtney.
Listeners,
Thank you,
catch you
thank
again
you so
next
much
week.
for having me.
Bless you, Sir Dr. Lewis. Listeners, catch you again next week for another Mailbox, the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by me, Courtney Morrison, and Kevin Bailey. Next
Kevin
week,
Bailey. So,
Monday.
Monday.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man. Hey man. I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity
Thank
man.
you.
I
Take
am
care
a
today.
man.
Take
Man,
care,
man,
take
man.
care.
I am
All the
a man,
best.
I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man. Here to the